so I told him he was definitely excused from participating. But he has prepared a statement that I'm going to read, and then we're going to go into their statements. I'm going to pick their order real quick, and then I'm going to read Justin's statement. First of all, I want to apologize for not being able to make it tonight. There have been 2 sudden deaths in my family, and I feel it's my duty to be here with them. I hope it's understood that at this time it's not an excuse, and I was looking forward to discussing these important issues. It's no secret that I didn't run or serve on SGA staff this last year. Despite my involvement freshman and sophomore year, I was starting to see that many of the negative stereotypes of SGA, like inefficiencies, dirty politics, and some truth to them. I then decided to focus my time in different organizations on campus. With that being said, when talks about elections started coming around, I was initially hesitant. But as you can now see, I've decided that I'm now committed to run for SGA president. There are 3 things that I think that lead me to this decision. 1, SGA has too much potential to actually make a difference and impact at U of L, university. After talking with and watching past presidents, I believe that I still have the skill set to do this job and do it well. And 3, and what I ultimately did was the opportunity to work with such an incredible team. The staff and candidates on Hard Vision are so incredible, and I want to see what we can do together. Ultimately, though, the voter must choose between my opponents and myself at the top of the ballot. A vote for me is informed from false or unreasonable promises. Unfortunately, I do not have the time to explain our platform in much detail, but I hope my VPs have done so tonight. All I'm asking is that as students trust me to provide the responsibility and dedication that is needed to be a student body president. Justin Brown.
First, let me say real quick before the time starts. These SGA things tend to get a little messy. I don't know who here's been involved before, but Justin's a really good friend of mine. He's one of the first people I met when I got to this university. So I don't care what slate you're on. If you're not on a slate, before you get to bed tonight, say a prayer for Justin. Anyway, hello everyone. My name is Max Morley. I'm currently the senior advisor to the Student Government Association. I'm a proud brother of the Campus Sigma fraternity. I'm a former ULDM team captain and the former statewide volunteer coordinator for the Kentucky Democratic Party. But none of that's why I'm here tonight. I'm here tonight because while my opponents are running for the office of SGA president, I'm running for the office of student body president. Too often we forget that these elections aren't about SGA. They're about the students. And that's why I'm here today. I'm running so that I can serve and protect the students of this university so that they can have the best experience possible at U of L and experience the most efficient campus and the most livable place to live and learn. I've spent the past year serving students. I've begun the fight against budget cuts and against tuition costs. I've begun the fight to give all students in the Commonwealth of Kentucky an affordable and strong education so they can continue their futures. We began this fight with the legislation that I drafted for the Kentucky General Assembly. We began this fight by hosting the largest rally that has ever been seen in the history of the rally for higher education. We began this fight by marching barefoot into our state capitol. But this is just the beginning of the fight, and I'm running to continue it. Thank you.
Fellow students, today I'm running for student body president because I'm tired of being left out, and I want to bring together students from all ages, all races, all gender identities, and backgrounds together. I've invested years of my life pursuing my education here at U of L. I hold 2 bachelor's and a master's degree, and I'm working for my PhD in electrical engineering, specializing in computer vision. If engineers are best at anything, it's tackling large problems and building solutions. SGA is broken to a certain degree. Every year students get slapped with new student fees, tuition rates explode each year, and Sodexo serves poor food at high prices. And at night, services shut down and the crimes come out. I'm not a doctor yet, but I'm working on a cure for SGA. The strength of our university is its diversity, and I want to bring together faces from many places and races. As your next SGA president, I will help bring down the cost of college by building public-private partnerships reaching out to the city government and slashing wasteful spending. I make campus safety my number one priority by working to build a West Campus police station so students feel safe at night. I'll expand REACH services to include more than just the general education classes. And I'll help transform U of L into a 24/7 campus where students can eat, sleep, exercise, and use our libraries 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Finally, my fellow distinguished students, please allow me to address one of the greatest challenges facing U of L, and that is trying to increase the number of albino squirrels on this campus. It takes an engineer to solve these many things, and when I'm elected as SGO president, I'll not only work 24 hours a day, I'll work 25 hours a day until these things are fixed and the albino squirrel population is even stronger than it is. If you're tired of being left out, vote for Travis. If campus feels unsafe, vote for Travis. If you want U of L to be a late night campus, vote for Travis. And if you think college is too expensive, vote for Travis. But most importantly, if you want to see more albino squirrels on this campus, vote for Travis. My fellow students, I ask you to stay thirsty for change, vote responsibly, and cast your vote for Travis Hall. Thank you. One of the things is I'm not just an old student who's saying, hey, I'm just going to run for be student body president. I've actually been at U of L here for quite some time. And before I got in SGA, I was very much not involved in SGA intentionally for the first part of my career. I spent a lot of time in Greek life. I spent time as an SI leader, as a lab tutor, as a TA, as a lecturer, as many things, trying to live out all the different experiences that U of L has to offer. So then when I get to this particular pinnacle of my career, what I'm trying to do now is not only bring to the table those experiences being not an SGA student as well as an SGA student, being an undergrad and a professional undergrad, all those different things to the table. But one of the other great things I have is people who are around me know that I like to advocate for things, especially on behalf of people. And this year, as we come up, every 3 years, the Board of Trustees has the executive committee, and they put on, each year they put on the different chairs of the different sense. In this case, they'll have the student body president coming up this time around. And one of my strengths is that sometimes I do understand, not just sometimes, I do understand all the time that it's not always my idea that should be the idea brought forward. It's oftentimes the ideas of other people. And I have no problem advocating on behalf of other people, even if it's not necessarily something I personally agree with, because I put the professionalism of the job ahead of what it is my own personal view is. And that's what I bring to the table.
Max?
Well, quite honestly, the thing that makes me most qualified to sit on the Board of Trustees is that I've worked alongside every single step of the way this year with the current SGA President, Kurt Frizzell, our current student representative on the Board of Trustees. I've worked alongside him. I've helped him make decisions that would affect his decisions in the Board of Trustees. So I've got sort of a secondhand experience, a lot closer than anyone else on this campus other than Curtis, to the Board of Trustees. I know the kind of issues they handle. I'm ready and I'm prepared to tackle those. While I'm not a member of the e-board because I'm not a council president, but I've been in almost every e-board meeting this year either as a proxy or just as an advocating voice. And my voice has been heard in e-board, and I think most people in this room that are on e-board can attest to that. I have no problem going into a room and advocating for something that I strongly believe in. That being said, as opposed to my opponent, I won't go into a room and advocate for something that I don't strongly believe in. Because if it's not one of my convictions, then I'm not going to push for it, to be quite honest. That being said, if it's in the best interest of the students and it falls within my belief set, then absolutely I'll advocate for it, and I won't shut up until it's done. That's the kind of guy I am, because I want to do what's best for students. I want to do what's best for the university, and trust me, the legislators in Frankfurt are already having to deal with my stuff. So the Board of Trustees is going to get the same kind of thing.
Sure. So a couple things with the Board of Trustees. I mean, one of the things is, although I'll kind of claim that we're fighting for all students, even at the legislative level, the real truth is that the affordability legislation brought before Kentucky General Assembly does not include any form of graduate or professional mention when it comes to the affordability of college education. It very exclusively states bachelors and undergrads exclusively. And so, I mean, that is a problem because, your graduate and your professional students pay some of the highest tuition of the entire school, and to have us left out of that package is a bit, disconcerting. And the fact that we weren't even involved in the process I mean, we were just completely cut out. I mean, those types of things concern me. And so when I say that I'm willing to advocate for things that aren't my necessarily personal belief, I've been here a long time, but I also believe that, for example, council presidents know the needs of their constituencies better than the executive branch does, and that's why I want to work with them. And so if they think that something is a little bit better approach than what I have for my own plan, then by golly, that's the plan I'm going to go with the Board of Trustees.
The language he's referring to is in a statute specifically that deals with undergraduates. That's the Council on Post-Secondary Education. And not to get into too many details, but the caps that they set on tuition, the percent by which tuition can rise and mandatory fees can rise, deal specifically with their policy with undergraduate matters. And that was an issue I was planning to tackle. Now, the other side of the coin, the definition of affordable that we put forth, which is monetarily attainable by any prospective student, regardless of socioeconomic status, background, or personal or family income, encompasses not only undergraduate students, but graduate students, professional students, and any other student that wants to obtain a higher education in the Commonwealth of Kentucky. I would ask my opponent to read my legislation a little more closely. Well, obviously the biggest concern is that we began this year for the first time ever with a deficit. If any of you keep up with federal politics there, you know that the deficit's not a fun thing to have. And it was something we wanted to correct and not keep a deficit throughout the year. So there were a lot of difficult cuts we had to make. Cuts are never fun, but in this case they were necessary. The executive branch, the branch that I work exclusively with, we worked to cut down on frivolous spending on things like food, on things like koozies to give out to students, because those things aren't necessary. A lot of the times in years past, those things were used as kind of cheap tricks to get people to come out to events, but lines of communication are now being built. The CardCast is the best it's ever been. For those of you that went to the State of the Student Body Address, you saw the quality of our CardCast, and that's reaching out to students. You see Pooja Singh Boy's SGA Cares events that are drawing students in and getting them engaged in SGA. You were at my platform event at the beginning of this year that saw over 1,000 students come out and hear what SGA is planning to do for them in the upcoming years. That's how we get people out to our events. And SGA has done a great job this year of cutting that fat, like Mike Shane was talking about a little earlier. We cut the fat, we trim the budget back, and we look at what we really need to be spending money on.
Probably my biggest problem with SJ budget, and granted I know there's potential it may change with the upcoming year of the contingency budget, is simply the notion that a great many of people do get paid a lot of money from SGA. With reference to the cuts that Max was referring to, yes. I mean, part of the reason that we started with the deficit is because the previous administration overspent, so the council's overspent, and then on top of that, a large portion of SGA's budget, something to like 25 to 30% of it, was designed to go toward paying everybody that works there. Tuition for the top four, several SAB positions, as well as paying the executive staff, paying the board, paying the Senate, the council presidents. And that's a lot of money. That's like 25 to 30% of the student fee that we collect is going just for that. And so, yes, this year we've made some sacrifices. We've obviously taken pay cuts. Some people have even donated their salary, their stipend back to SGA for other events. But what I find interesting is that, when we came in and the Senate was almost basically being forced to take a pay cut, as was staff, as was the judicial branch, when I rose the issue that, well, why isn't the top four taking a pay cut? It took some arm twisting in front of the Senate before they would acquiesce to doing so. And some stepped up right ahead and were able to do it. Others, on the other hand, had to use that to help pay for, their tuition. So it's not so much an issue that I think necessarily people should get paid, but it is an issue that I think is important, because if you think about it, if we double the student fee this upcoming year to make for a larger budget, then a lot of that is going to pay some people's full tuition. I just want to make sure that that's going to the right places. But more so, my other concern too is that SGA, in many ways, if you look even at the election cycle, is run very much like a homecoming type thing. People are giving out donuts and cakes and hot chocolate and that sort of thing to acquire votes. And even though that's their own money, I sometimes wonder, is SGA doing the same thing? Are we trying to buy people's participation